Consistency is not glamorous, it's not loud, it doesn't show off on the first day. But let me tell you something that will shake your soul. Your dreams are not waiting on more motivation, they're waiting on more repetition. You say you're tired, so is greatness of waiting on you to choose it daily. You say you're uninspired. The inspired version of you is buried beneath 1,000 broken promises you made to yourself. Force yourself to be consistent, and I promise you this: the pain will become purpose, the chaos will become order, and the life you dream of will start showing up in your real life. So don't just listen, sit with this. Let it challenge your excuses. Let it argue with your laziness. Because by the end of this speech, you won't be able to lie to yourself the same way again. Talent may dazzle the room, but it does not stay to clean up the mess after the applause fades. Talent is loud in the beginning, but quiet in the journey. It arrives with praise and leaves when challenged. But consistency? Consistency whispers at first. But by the time it speaks loud enough to be heard, it has already built something unshakable. You don't have to be the most talented person in the room. You just have to be the most dependable. You just have to keep showing up when talent has already gone home, because the truth is this: talent will lie to you. It will tell you that you can skip steps, cheat the grind, ignore the hours. It will tell you that because you're gifted, you're exempt from the rules. But consistency will never lie. Consistency tells you the truth even when it hurts. It says, you haven't earned it yet. It says, not today, but keep going. It says, work now, shine later. There are millions of talented people whose dreams will never live past their imagination, not because they weren't good enough, but because they never stayed long enough. They were quick to impress, but quicker to quit. Don't envy talent. Study consistency. The athlete who trains when no one is watching, the writer who rewrites the same line until it sings, the parent who shows up day after day for a child who doesn't say thank you, they are proof that showing up is a skill. That discipline is a deeper kind of genius, and that consistency, in its quiet power, achieves what talent alone never could. People often want to look like greatness, but they don't want to live like it. They want the highlight reel without the hidden hours. But here's a hard truth: the world doesn't reward who starts with fire. It rewards who finishes with endurance. Let me remind you, you weren't meant to burn out. You were meant to burn steadily. And that fire doesn't come from excitement. It comes from intention, from building habits that hold you upright when your motivation sits down. You might have been told you're talented. You might have been told you're not. But neither label holds weight against what you do daily, because life doesn't remember your promise. It remembers your practice. Consistency is where character lives. It's the part of you that says, I will keep going even when I'm not celebrated. It's the discipline to repeat what works, to improve what doesn't, and to resist the urge to be impressive, so you can become impactful. And let's be clear, consistency is not perfection. It's progress. It's getting up one more time than you fall. It's saying yes to growth, even when it means saying no to comfort, even when the room is quiet, even when no one claps. Because talent will give you a head start, but only consistency will let you finish the race. And most people don't lose the dream because they weren't good enough. They lose it because they weren't willing enough. You want the life you say you want? You want the breakthrough, the freedom, the confidence, the peace? Then stop depending on how you feel. Start depending on what you do. It's the small decisions, repeated daily, that build your future. It's the uncelebrated choices, the late nights, early mornings, the skipped excuses, the silent sacrifices that shape a life you're proud to live. Talent is beautiful, but it's fragile. It's only as good as the effort behind it. Consistency is not always beautiful, but it is bulletproof. If you are tired of stopping and starting, of promising and postponing, then make a decision today to trade in the high of being talented for the truth of being consistent. Because one shows the world what you can do, and the other proves to yourself what you will do. And when everything is said and done, the world may remember your victories, but you will remember your discipline. Let that be the legacy. Emotions come dressed like truth, but they are not always loyal. They shift with the weather of your mind. They dance to the music of your mood. And just when you need them to be steady, they vanish. They leave you in the middle of your becoming. That is the nature of emotions. They pass. They don't stay. They are smoke and wind, water and waves. They are part of your human beauty, but they are not to be trusted as your guide. You cannot build a destiny on the back of something that changes every time you blink. One day you feel like conquering the world. The next, you barely want to leave your bed. One moment, you're inspired and brave. The next, you are questioning your worth. And if you let emotions make decisions for you, they will decorate your life with inconsistency. They will talk you out of progress. They will give you permission to stay small and call it self-care. But what is care if it keeps you from growing? What is rest if it becomes your excuse? What is honesty if all it does is protect your fear? There is a truth greater than how you feel. It is what you practice. You don't need to feel ready. You need to do what readiness requires. You don't need to feel brave. You need to do what bravery demands. Because habits do not care about your mood. They only reflect your choices. Let that settle. Habits are the reflection of your real beliefs, not the beliefs you post online, not the affirmations you whisper in the mirror, but the ones your actions bow to each day. Habits don't lie. They are the raw, unfiltered evidence of what matters to you. And the truth is, most people let how they feel write the story of what they do. And then they wonder why the story keeps ending the same way. Unfinished, unfulfilled, unremarkable. Emotions are the sparks, habits are the flame, and only one of them knows how to keep you warm through the night. The person who wins is not the one who is always excited. It's the one who keeps showing up long after the excitement is gone. The one who has learned to feel the doubt, feel the fatigue, feel the resistance, and still do the thing. They've stopped asking, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "Is this what must be done?" Because consistency is not about what feels good. It's about what moves you forward. And growth is not a mood. It is a commitment. When you rely on emotion, you are building your life on shifting sand. You will do what's right only when it feels right. You will keep your promises only when they're convenient. You will love your vision only when it claps for you in return. But if you train yourself to rely on habit, you create a rhythm stronger than emotion. You create a pattern powerful enough to carry you through valleys, deserts, and dry seasons. That's when you become unstoppable, not when you're constantly hyped, not when everything feels perfect, but when you've trained your body, mind, and spirit to act even when inspiration is absent. The most dangerous lie emotions tell you is, "This can wait. This isn't the right time. You're not good enough yet. You don't have to do it today." But the truth, time is not waiting for your feelings to align, and neither is the life you want. If you give your emotions the steering wheel, you will keep circling the same exit signs. You will know the language of progress, but never the feeling of arrival. So what do? You build rituals, you build systems, you build anchors in your day that do not ask how you feel, but demand your movement. You wake up and you write. You pray, you run, you stretch, you study, you take the action, even if your soul is tired and your voice is small, because that is how strength is built, not in the easy, but in the repeating. And let me tell you, there is deep liberation in that. When you no longer have to negotiate with your feelings, you free up energy for creation. You free up energy for excellence. You no longer need to talk yourself into showing up. You become the kind of person who just shows up. That's the beauty of habit. It doesn't care if you're scared. It doesn't shrink because of yesterday. It just keeps you rooted in the rhythm of becoming. So don't despise repetition. Don't reject the quiet days. Don't wait for inspiration to visit. Build a home it can walk into, already furnished with your consistency. Because the day your habits become louder than your moods, that's the day you become unstoppable. And that, beloved, is the truth emotions will never tell you. Everyone wants to be great, but few are willing to be consistent. We live in a time where speed is mistaken for progress, where shortcuts are disguised as strategy, where new is worshiped and repeating is seen as weakness. But the truth doesn't bend for modern impatience. The truth stands steady. Repetition is the engine of mastery. You cannot become what you want to be by doing it once, by doing it sometimes, by doing it only when it's convenient. You do not sharpen a blade by glancing at the stone. You press it again and again until the dull edge gives way to precision. That is the path of mastery, not glamour, not noise, but the sacred grind of repetition. It is not the first attempt that makes you excellent. It is the 100th time no one is watching, the 1,000th time no one applauds, the silent rehearsals, the forgotten mornings, the lonely nights spent repeating what others would quit. That's where greatness is carved. The world tells you to chase variety, but true transformation doesn't happen in variety. It happens in returning to the work, returning to the craft, returning to the purpose. Even when you don't feel like it. Every genius you admire, they repeated. Every master you study, they repeated. Every legend you quote, they repeated. Their success did not come from a burst of brilliance. It came from showing up when it got boring. It came from refining the same thing until it sang with excellence. Repetition is not failure. Repetition is not stagnation. Repetition is refinement. And yes, it will feel tedious. It will feel slow, because real growth does not entertain you. It stretches you. And anything that stretches you will also try to scare you. But hear this truth. If you are bored by the process, it means you're close to building something permanent. The moment repetition begins to feel dull, that's the moment you're moving from practice to instinct. That's when the work starts doing you, instead of you doing the work. It becomes part of your blood, part of your bones, and suddenly, what was once effort becomes rhythm. People want the magic, but the magic is in the mundane. The magic is in the man who wakes up at 5 a.m. every morning to write, in the woman who practices the same speech until the words lift off her tongue like breath, in the athlete who runs drills until muscle memory becomes muscle poetry. The magic isn't found, it's earned. You want your voice to carry weight? Speak often. You want your gift to flow effortlessly? Rehearse until your soul remembers it. You want to be trusted with more? Be faithful with the small again and again and again. Because repetition is how the soul learns to hold power. Even nature understands this. The sun rises every single morning, not once but always. The ocean returns to the shore without fail. The earth spins without asking for applause. Mastery lives in the natural law of returning. And yet we, in all our brilliance and ambition, want to be new every day. We want to skip steps. We want to be experts overnight. But there is no shortcut around devotion. You cannot microwave mastery. You cannot Instagram excellence. You must return. Return when it's unexciting. Return when it hurts. Return when your mind tries to seduce you with distractions. Because repetition kills ego. It humbles the loud parts of you. It says, sit down, do the work one more time. And every time you return, you deposit strength into your future. Every time you repeat, you lay another brick in the foundation. One brick may not look like much, but 1,000 bricks laid with discipline, that's a fortress. That's legacy. Don't underestimate what daily devotion can do. Don't mock the slow climb, because one day the mountain will move under your feet, and it will not be because of one giant leap, but because you refuse to stop taking small steps. Repetition is not punishment. It is preparation. Preparation for your moment, preparation for your platform, preparation for the thing you've been praying for but haven't yet earned. Because here's a truth that time never fails to teach. When you finally meet your moment, it's not your talent that sustains you, it's your training. When the spotlight hits, you will not rise to the occasion. You will fall to the level of your practice. So practice well, repeat deeply, love the loop, return to the rhythm, because mastery isn't built in the burst, it's built in the beat. And the beat is repetition. Discipline is the quiet warrior. It does not seek attention, but it demands respect. It does not always offer quick rewards, but it never denies a return. It teaches you that there is a gap between the seed and the bloom, and in that gap, most people give up. Not because they are weak, but because they are impatient. Everyone wants harvest, but very few are willing to live through the silence of planting. Very few are willing to keep watering dry soil, to keep moving without applause, to keep trusting what cannot yet be seen. But discipline lives in that waiting space. It says, I know what's coming even if I don't see it today. The lie we are told is that progress must be fast to be real, that change must feel good to be working. But growth is rarely obvious in the moment. It happens quietly, beneath the surface, inside the character, in the decisions you make when no one's looking. Discipline delays the spotlight because it wants to make sure your roots are deep enough to hold the weight of the blessing. So it tells you, wait. It tells you work without proof. It tells you build without evidence. And that's why most people walk away. They think delay means denial. But delay is preparation. Delay is shaping you while you shape the dream. You ask for the mountain, but do you have the legs to climb it? You ask for the platform, but do you have the truth to stand on it? Discipline doesn't just prepare the dream for you, it prepares you for the dream. We live in a world that glorifies the finish line. But discipline is not married to outcomes. It is committed to the process. It doesn't just want you to win, it wants you to become someone worthy of winning. Because a victory gained without discipline is a victory you'll waste. But a victory earned with discipline, it changes your blood. It makes you different. It makes you real. That's why discipline delays. It stretches time just enough to remove your ego, just enough to quiet the noise, just enough to make sure you didn't just want the reward, you wanted the responsibility that comes with it. And if you're walking through a season right now where everything feels slow, where it seems like nothing is working, where you've been consistent but feel forgotten, let me tell you this, you are not being punished. You are being proven. Discipline is proving your sincerity. It is checking your motives. It is burning off the parts of you that only want what's easy, because anyone can be consistent for a week. Anyone can post about progress. But discipline is not social, it's sacred. It's between you and the future version of you that's waiting to be born. And no, it won't always feel good. There will be days where you question everything, where you want to quit, hide, disappear, but discipline doesn't bend to feelings. It says we show up anyway. It says we keep the promise even when we don't feel like it. It says we stay faithful to the work because the work will never betray us. Discipline teaches you that fulfillment is found in follow-through, not in fast results. It teaches you that self-respect is earned in the hours when quitting would be easier. And it gives you something that talent, charm, and luck never can: credibility with yourself. When you live with discipline, you don't just chase goals. You become someone who can carry them. You don't just dream, you build. You don't just start, you finish. Because you understand that slow does not mean stuck. And waiting does not mean wasting. It means working without guarantee. That is the difference between wishful thinking and real transformation. Wishful thinking says, if I don't see it soon, I'll stop. Discipline says, even if I don't see it for a long time, I'll continue. Because deep in your gut, deep in your spirit, that discipline delays, but it never denies. It doesn't cancel what's yours. It protects it. It waits until you're ready. It waits until you've built the internal strength to sustain what's coming. And while you wait, while you train, while you repeat, you are becoming, even if no one notices, even if no one applauds. You are stacking power with every quiet choice, every 5 a.m. decision, every moment you turn down comfort for character. You are building the kind of life that cannot be taken because it was not built in haste. So when the reward comes, because it will, you will not have to ask if you deserve it. You'll know, because you endured the delay, and you became the kind of person who never needed fast results, only real ones. You can lie to the world, and the world may believe you. You can smile through the chaos, post through the pain, dress up the disappointment, and polish the parts of yourself you want others to see. But when it's quiet, when the doors are closed and the lights are off, there's one thing that sees through all of it: the mirror. The mirror does not care about what you present. It is not fooled by your intentions. It knows what you did. It knows what you didn't do. It knows what you promised and what you postponed. It knows who you are when no one is clapping. You can impress people, but the mirror, it is not impressed. It doesn't fall for hype. It doesn't give you credit for good ideas you never followed through on. It reflects the truth of your habits, not the fantasy of your potential, and that is why it is so hard to look at yourself sometimes. Not because of what's on the outside, but because you know what's missing on the inside. You know the corners you've cut. You know the times you stayed silent instead of speaking up. The times you waited instead of acting, made excuses instead of moves. The mirror sees through all your masks. It is the most honest place you'll ever visit. And the reason some people avoid it is not because of how they look, but because they don't like what they've become. You see, growth is not about how others perceive you. It's about whether you can respect the person staring back at you. Because that person knows. They know if you gave your all or just gave enough to get by. They know if you're living with intention or just surviving through distraction. They know if you are walking in purpose or hiding behind fear. The mirror will ask you without speaking, "Can I trust you? Do you show up for what you say you want? Do you keep the promises you whisper to yourself at midnight?" That's the kind of truth that stings before it heals. You can't fake consistency to yourself. You can't rehearse authenticity. And you cannot run from your own reflection, not forever. Eventually, you'll have to stop, stand still, and look. And that's where power begins. Not in perfection, but in facing yourself fully. You want real confidence? Earn it in front of the mirror. Not through likes or praise, not through what people think of your highlight reel, but by building a private history of integrity so deep, so undeniable, that when you look in the mirror, you don't flinch. You nod, you smile, you say, "Yes, I know you, I'm proud of you." That is a different kind of peace, a different kind of wealth, because when you have self-trust, you are unstoppable. When you can count on your own hands to work, your own feet to keep walking, your own heart to stay steady, you stop chasing validation. You stop looking for someone to tell you who you are, because you already see it, clear, real, whole. But getting there takes honesty. It takes confronting your patterns. It takes owning your choices. The mirror won't lie to you, but it will wait. It will wait for you to stop pretending. It will wait for you to stop performing. It will wait for you to stop explaining away your greatness with excuses. And when you're ready, it will show you exactly who you've been, and even more important, who you could still become. So don't avoid it. Look closely, look without filters, look without shame, because shame does not heal you. Accountability does. Every morning you rise, the mirror is waiting, not to judge you, but to ask, what are we doing today? Are we going to repeat what's easy or rise into what's necessary? The answer is always in your reflection. You can tell the world you're committed, but the mirror will ask, did you show up? You can tell yourself you're trying, but the mirror will ask, is trying the truth or just the excuse that sounds the nicest? You can say you want change, but the mirror will say, then why are your habits still the same? And this is not cruelty, this is clarity, because the mirror doesn't hate you, it just refuses to lie to you. It wants you to win, but it knows the road to winning isn't paved with comfort, it's paved with choice. It's paved with truth. It's paved with days you don't feel like doing it, but do it anyway. And when the mirror sees that, when it sees evidence instead of excuses, it will reflect something new, not just a face, but a force, a person who has earned the right to trust themselves. And that is the reflection worth building. Laziness is clever. It doesn't knock on your door with warning. It whispers. It disguises itself as rest. It dresses up as self-care, wraps itself in excuses that sound like protection. It tells you you've done enough, even when you haven't started. It says, you can try tomorrow, and then steals 1,000 tomorrows from your life. Laziness will hold your potential hostage, not with force, but with comfort. It won't yell. It will gently lull you into mediocrity. It doesn't destroy all at once. It delays you, one decision at a time. And every time you negotiate with it, every time you argue with your goals, every time you bargain with your promise, you lose a piece of yourself. Stop negotiating with laziness. It has never had your best interest in mind. It does not want your success. It does not care about your peace. It only wants you still, stuck, quiet, and small. It will not fight you with pain. It will fight you with pleasure. It will give you a soft bed when you should be working. It will give you another scroll when you should be building. It will give you false satisfaction and empty victories. And it will lie to you. It will say, this one time won't hurt. This doesn't matter. You deserve a break. And what begins as a single skipped day turns into a broken rhythm, then a broken promise, then a broken belief in yourself. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lack strength. They fail because they keep entertaining laziness like it's a guest, instead of evicting it like the intruder it is. You cannot build a meaningful life while constantly explaining to yourself why you didn't do what you said you would do. You cannot carry purpose and procrastination in the same hands. So you must decide, do you want comfort or do you want your calling? Because they do not live on the same street. They do not sleep in the same bed. Discipline is not cruel. It is the resistance to negotiation. It says, I don't need to feel like it to do it. It says, this is non-negotiable. And that's the kind of mindset laziness cannot live with. It chokes in the presence of resolve. It shrinks when you stop debating your standards. You don't need to argue with your laziness. You need to replace it with movement, with structure, with systems that remove the option to delay, make your mornings automatic, make your habits inevitable, make the path to action smoother than the path to excuses. Because here's the truth no one likes to hear. You will not always be motivated, but you can always be consistent. And consistency is the enemy of laziness. It thrives in indecision. It dies in repetition. Every time you show up for yourself, you send a message. I don't serve comfort, I serve commitment. And with every small action, every time you follow through, you break the spell laziness tries to keep you under. Laziness is seductive, but it cannot stand against someone who knows what they want. not just vaguely, not just in theory, but someone who wakes up and acts like their dreams are urgent. And you must treat your goals like they're urgent, because they are. Time is not standing still for your doubts. Life is not waiting for you to feel like starting. It is moving with or without you. So let it move with you. Let each step be an act of war against the slow poison of doing nothing. Silence the voice that keeps trying to make you pause. You've paused enough. You've delayed enough. You've doubted enough. Now it's time to do. Do it while you're tired. Do it while you're afraid. Do it while your excuses scream louder than your ambition. Because once you act, truly act, laziness loses its grip. Action breeds momentum. Momentum builds identity. And identity, once strong enough, will not negotiate with weakness. You want to trust yourself again? Then stop giving in. Stop starting over. Stop saying later when everything in your soul is asking for now. Let the lazy part of you die. Let it burn in the fire of your discipline. Let it be replaced by someone whose word is stronger than their mood. Because every day you are either building muscle or feeding your excuses. You are either walking forward or standing still in the fog of your own avoidance. And one day the cost of laziness will come. It won't look like pain. It will look like lost time, missed opportunities, unlived potential, and the ache of knowing that what could have been never became. Don't let that be your story. Make a new one where you wake up and work, one where you show up even when it's hard, one where you don't beg for results. You earn them. Laziness doesn't own you. It only wins when you give it a seat at your table. Take that seat back, stand up, and move. Let this be the year you no longer abandon yourself. Let this be the season where you force consistency until it becomes character. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need more time. You don't even need to believe in yourself yet. You just need to keep showing up. Force yourself to be consistent, and everything else will fall into place.